Have you ever paused when listening to somebody's story and thought to yourself, wow, I can really feel the emotion behind this story? Some stories are harder to hear than others. Some draw in emotion for us, and some leave us flat. I try to provide you with the stories that draw in emotion and learning experiences for yourself. During this month of Pride, I wanted to make sure that I brought you voices of individuals who were looking to be heard and understood and brought unique experiences of their own. And today on our podcast, we welcome Mom Alana Miller, and also co-founder of Say Hello Threads, a mother of a young, thriving boy who has special needs, a mother of a teenager, and a queer woman who once identified as straight. So how do we experience Alana's journey? I ask you to sit in a place of listening, not listening to respond, but listening to hear Alana's story of her life, her childhood, becoming a mother, and her own journey of coming out that looks different than maybe some of the other journeys that we have featured on the podcast. Stay tuned. Alana, thank you so much for joining the Thrive Forward podcast. I am excited and grateful, most of all, for you to share the story. And I'm rocking my Say Hello Threads shirt today. Not everybody can see it if you're listening. You'll find out more about what that means. But Alana, thank you so much for joining us.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm very excited to be able to share this space with you. So thank you.
Yeah. And it's such an element of vulnerability because as we're recording this in May, but as it plays back, it will be in June, and it is Pride Month. And you're going to share with us your story of being a mom, of coming out and being a mom. You can tell the story. I'll let you go through it, however order you want to go through it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what a difference you make in this world and what the mission is that you are on, because it's so beautiful. So share with everybody your story, kind of where you come from, and what has made your life so impactful through this journey.
I was born in New Jersey to drug addicts and alcoholics. And unfortunately, at 1.5, I lost both of my parents. My dad murdered my mom, and he went to jail and died in jail. The story unfolds. My uncle finds out that his sister has died. He comes, at that time we were in North Carolina. I'm 1.5 years old. He comes and gets us. The story he tells is that we were so tiny that he fit us into a pair of his work boots. Wow. Didn't have car seats. Was like, I'm going to get you out of here. Took me and my twin brother and my older brother to Virginia. So I was born and raised in Virginia with my aunt and uncle. In this story, I will continue to reference mom and dad and just know that they're my aunt and uncle. Yeah. My dad was an alcoholic. So some of my fondest memories of him are, him playing with my hair, or if he was outside playing horseshoes with his friends, which he did often in our backyard, he would, say, "Hey, Alana, go fetch me a beer." And I was his little beer girl, and I would run in the house and go get him a beer. And sometimes I would play this game of, I'm going to shake this beer up. And So that I would run it back down, and then he'd be like, okay, ha 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 ha, go give me another one. And then I remember being 8 years old, in my room on a red and black circle carpets. They called it a drug rug. It's really frilly, and I was sitting on the carpet praying to God that I would never allow, if I had kids, to live this life. A lot of verbal abuse. My brothers caught, the more physical abuse. And for whatever reason, I was daddy's little princess, as my mom called me. So she would, if she thought that I should have gotten in trouble, she'd be like, you're lucky, you're daddy's little princess. He won't touch you. So fast forward, I am 16. I am in 11th grade, and I have met Alex, who is my oldest son's father. I tell him my story of the constant abuse and yelling and things. And so his mom is like, hey, you can come and stay here if you want. So I make the decision and I leave. I don't talk to my family for 2 years. I regret that. Now looking back, I regret that so much. I lost so much time. I unfortunately got into 2 relationships that I shouldn't have been in. And then Lindsay comes along. Well, before Lindsay, I guess I should back that up. And so I was like,
there's a little period in between there too.
Yes. So I have left Alex, and I am now with Brian, who is an amazing dad. He is, he's funny. He's my best friend. We just didn't belong together as a couple. And so we were married. I was married with Brian, and we had Brayden. And Brayden is 10. He is special needs, and he has intellectual disabilities. And under that umbrella of intellectual disabilities, there's a lot of small little diagnoses: apraxia, dyspraxia, global developmental delays, which all make him who he is, which is a very loving, sweet boy. So
it gives him his superpowers, as I always explain it to people.
Yes. Me and Brian are realizing, that we shouldn't be together anymore. And so decide to split. And I met Lindsay, who is my now partner. I met her through my job. And at first she was just a friend. And at this, pivotal point of like my marriage is, I'm going to say falling apart. She was a support for me, always there to talk to, and things kind of unraveled from there. And I will preference this next part about kind of my coming out story. I was 30 when I was in a relationship with Lindsay and came out and said that I was gay. Lindsay was well on her journey of identifying as gay. But we never thought that we would be in a relationship together. It kind of just happened. And as my friends will say, they all knew. They all knew that whether I was going to admit it or not, that I was gay. I was always the girl who was, smacking my girlfriend's asses and, oh, sorry if I'm not.
Nope, you can swear. It's totally fine.
Okay.
Nope, it's totally fine. You can swear all you want to.
A boob girl and always just flirting with girls. And so it was no surprise to them. Not at all. I told them and they're like, yes, finally. Thank you. Like, what took you so long? So I come out and Lindsay's story is a little bit different than mine. I didn't have parents to come out to. I have a little bit of an estranged relationship with both of my brothers. Both of them unfortunately deal with addiction. And so we are on two different life paths. Yeah. I still love them dearly and they are still an important part of my life. But so I didn't have to come out, like a lot of people have to come out and they, I don't believe that that's the way that things should be. You should just be able to bring home whoever you want to bring home. But sometimes when there's religion involved, that's not always the case. And so I say that I was fortunate to not have all of those components added to my story, but I do still see the having to come out. Just the other day I had a doctor, it was a telehealth doctor, so they didn't know my background. But she was like, well, are you using any form of birth control? And I said, no. And she's like, well, is there any chance you're pregnant? And I was like, no. And she was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, I'm gay. And then she kind of giggled this awkward giggle and was just like, oh, okay, exactly. So those, I'm finding that I have to come out, to doctors and wait staff, no, yes, we want the same bill together. And then you get this awkward look and it's, or it's, oh, are you guys sisters? No, we're not sisters, are you guys friends? Or, so you're constantly having to come out. Which is disappointing in itself. But
it's a constant journey.
Hannah, it is.
Hannah and Megs and I just talked about that in a previous episode about how it's the constant coming out. It's not just once. It's a journey.
Yeah. And when I switched jobs, I told my now current boss that I was gay and, was that an issue? And she just kind of laughed and was like, Elena, you know better. No. Luckily, we were friends. I knew her from my other job, but she, was like, no, absolutely not. That's not an issue. You are who you are. I was allowed to put my pronouns in my, my work signature, which is now becoming a thing in the professional field, which is amazing. Instagram has it. And I just saw, I don't know if you've seen this, but LinkedIn has an option for it.
Yes.
So that's amazing that in the professional world, it's becoming more accepting. And so I think that's, amazing strides from where we have like come from. And so Lindsay and I's relationship is amazing. She is a wonderful mother to our boys. I tend not to do the, stepmom or a stepdad kind of thing. I don't like the word step. We are finding that in the school setting, unless you are a stepmom or a stepdad, you do not qualify for anything other than, mom's partner or dad's partner or whatever. So I feel like that's something that I would like to see change in the future, because it's hurtful. If I put Lindsay on Braden or John's paperwork, I shouldn't have to write stepmom just so she's included. I should be able to write, partner, she could be my life partner. It doesn't matter. I don't, that title is, we need to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
in so many aspects, right? In so many aspects, because even there are straight individuals who are not getting married, right?
Yep.
Some people don't identify using the word husband or wife, or, I in my business, I use the word partner a lot. And for some of my clients who are a little bit more senior are like, no, that's my wife or my husband. And I said, well, that's not applicable to everyone. So I've changed my language so that, we're inclusive of no matter where we are. And your wife or your husband is actually also your partner. And if we don't identify in that term, then what are we identifying in terms of that union that you have? My husband is my partner. He's my best friend. Like, just because he's my husband and not a wife or, same sex situation, right? And I'm not his husband, doesn't mean that we don't refer to each other as a partner. My partner in crime, he better bear me out of jail. If I go there.
Yes.
Not that I plan on going to jail, but partner in crime. Compliance, I have to say that. Like, compliance will be like, what is she talking about? Don't worry, I'm not. Clarify that for them. So I feel like there's another layer to that part of things beyond the school. How has it been for the boys as you've raised them? And they each have different fathers, and then now Lindsay as their other mother. How has that been from a relationship standpoint, both with their fathers and then with them? We know that there's a lot of things that can transition in that space. Can you share a little bit of that story as well?
Being integrated into a family that's kind of already made, and becoming a blended family is hard in itself. And then you add the, that she is a girl and not a guy. We recently just learned that our oldest, John, we were having a family discussion, and he did share that he was not comfortable telling his friends that his mom was gay. And one, he said it's none of their business, but two, he understands that if he tells them that they may not be accepting, and or if they're accepting, maybe their families aren't accepting. So there are many of his friends, I didn't know this, but they don't know that he has, two moms and a dad. And so, we've had conversations around that, and, he has, shared that he does have some friends who know, and that he's comfortable enough sharing that with them. And, kids aren't dumb. They kind of just figure it out, and either they're going to be accepting or they're not going to be accepting. And that piece of, are they going to be accepting, is scary for him, because he
Yes.
doesn't want, to lose that friendship. And, you're 14, you're in high school now, and that, friendship circle and structure and life for a high schooler is difficult as it is.
Yeah, the social circle is, well, I say
Yeah.
this all the time. I would never want to be in high school again. I would never want to be in middle school again.
Yes.
None of those things. Kids are mean, unfortunately. And some of it comes from just not an element of
Exactly.
this frontal lobe being developed, but also things that they were taught and things that they weren't taught.
Yeah. And so, we've tried to, explain that to him, that he can use that as like a teaching point. He's not there yet. But yeah, so we've discussed that, and Braden just loves Lindsay. So he's, happy, go with the flow, loves having her here. And so, yeah.
He's smitten.
He is.
So let's transition into this space of, now you're living your truth, right? Now you're living your truth and yourself, and you've come into this space. How have you now wanted to make more of a difference as those two worlds kind of come together, as being a mom, not only of, a mom, but also a mom with special needs, and then living your true story as a queer individual or gay individual or lesbian or whatever what word do you self-identify with using?
I'll be honest. I will. Yes, all of the above. It's hard when, it's just another label, and it needs to be used. But sometimes it's not necessary.
Well, you and I talked about this before, right? Like I was telling you a story about a friend of mine who's like, I'll use this so that you feel comfortable identifying, but I don't divide myself in that space.
As a special needs mom, I am, we're constantly advocating, right? Always being Braden's voice, to make sure that his needs are being met, whether that's in school or in the community, for his safety. So we are, always advocating. And so that is kind of where it all began, with our company and how our company grew to what it is today. We have created Say Hello Threads, and we are an apparel company that, with our shirts, we want to be able to open lines of communication in different communities and be able to advocate for, the special needs community primarily, but also marginalized communities. And with our shirts, I've had so many stories be shared with me that they're in the grocery store and they've had, an inclusion shirt on, and people have come up to them and said, oh, well, one, why are you wearing that shirt? It kind of goes, the conversations kind of go a couple different ways. And then it opens the door to, if their children are special needs, or is it, what does inclusion mean to you? And they talk about, whatever topics it is that inclusion means to them. And so opening those doors to communities has been amazing, and awesome opportunity to see what an effect something on a shirt can do just to someone in the grocery store or in the post office, going on a run in the gym, and having people ask questions where we feel like sometimes you wouldn't have gone up to anybody and said anything.
Right.
And so having that first piece of conversation of just, going up to someone and saying hello. And that's where Say Hello Threads was born. An important thing here that you didn't ask for, but I'm going to say,
yes,
is that I want people to when you see these companies that are using pride as a promotion, I want you to dig deeper and see what these companies really stand for, because it's easy to put a rainbow flag on, a Capital One with a Capital One logo on a fan. It's easy to create candles or whatever kind of marketing that they think that they're going to be able to bring in this audience. But what you will find if you do research is that a lot of these companies are anti-LGBTQ+. And by you supporting these companies and buying this merchandise, you are in fact actually supporting anti-LGBTQ+ funds. These funds that they're raising for people, for the LGBTQ+ community is really being raised to go towards other things that are against our community. So definitely do your research before you purchase things. Amazon, there's a bunch of things on Amazon. You can look up pride shirts and any shop on there, you don't know what you're buying. Where you know what you're buying, but you don't know where you're buying it from. Right. So if you really want to support the cause, purchase things from people that you have done your research for. So our shirts, those proceeds will be going to the Trevor Project.
Awesome.
So we're super excited about that. And if you don't know about the Trevor Project, I definitely think that you should look into it. It's an amazing organization that supports teens and other individuals, adults and kids, by using their platform in all different types of ways. They have support groups and they have a hotline that you can call for suicide prevention. Because if you didn't know, like a lot of the LGBTQ community suffers from suicide. There's a lot of death. Yes, a lot of death by suicide, and the coming out. Like if you have to come out, that is, that's very hard for some people, and these, kids who aren't able to safely and honestly come out. So they hold it in, and unfortunately leads to, depression, and sometimes there is death involved. So make sure, all that to say that you are, if you do wish to support Pride Month and all things Pride Month, that you're just aware of where you are buying from.
Yes, I'm such a big advocate in those spaces. I think we've seen that in a lot of things that have happened, especially over the last year. I think that it's important in a lot of just as we look at social change issues as a whole, whether it be supporting our queer community, supporting our Black and Brown folks, supporting our environment, whatever it might be. It is very easy to slap a hashtag on, or to change a square on social media, or to do these different things, but the action that actually happens behind it. I've had some very similar conversations with clients as we start to talk about how do you invest your money? So where are you spending your money? Where are you saving your money? Where are you investing your money? What companies are you supporting that align with your values? And how are they really doing what you need to do and executing on that? What does the culture look like at those places of work, right? For instance, with Target, they are huge supporters, especially here locally because we're in Minnesota, and Minnesota is the capital of Target. I'm not sure if everyone knows that or not, but we have a Target on every corner here in Minnesota, but they are huge supporters. And then go inside the culture. What does the culture feel like? What does it look like? What support systems are available? What accountability is there for people to feel safe in a work environment? You mentioned earlier in our conversation, having to have the conversation with your boss of, I'm gay. Does that matter? I don't have to have that conversation. I'm married to a man. Does that, that's not even something that ever crosses my mind, that
exactly.
I would have to do something like that and feel safe in my work environment. And I think sometimes we can get into spaces as straight individuals and not realize, right? What are some of those things that we have to worry about? What does the process for a benefits package look like? What happens if something does happen to my partner and I have to claim benefits for different things, right? What is that? I even go into my financial brain, right? Goes into estate planning and things like that. Like if my partner becomes ill, how do I make sure that they are taken care of from a legal standpoint with healthcare directives and me listing them so that when we go into that doctor situation, I don't have to retell my story of what this is. There's already a legal document. If they've done their due diligence, they know. There's so many different pieces that I think we have to start to recognize and make that as a responsibility. I wish we lived in a society where people didn't take advantage of marketing opportunities and really lived through what it is, but it's our job as a consumer to really take a lens. And I would also say this, you're a small, thriving business. And supporting small, thriving businesses are the backbone of our country and what makes things thrive. And you know that when you purchase a Say Hello Threads t-shirt, that you are impacting the lives of you and Lindsay and Braden and John and the communities that you are participating in. I know when I buy a shirt from you, and I can't wait to buy my Pride one. I did get my salsa stain off of this. This is a random conversation that Elena and I have. I was going to wear it last week and I got salsa on it. And anyway, it was a whole thing. But I think it's our consciousness as consumers in what we do. So thank you for bringing up that point. I know I didn't ask for it, but you just threw it in there and it was a great landing. So where can people find Say Hello Threads? How often are you releasing? Is it a thing that you release a new t-shirt on a regular basis? What can people expect from you all from a business standpoint going forward?
Yeah, so we are all things, we're sayhellothreads.com and our social medias are both Say Hello Threads.
I would also add in here, as a part of bringing all of this together, many marginalized communities have similar experiences alongside each other, right?
Yes.
They aren't the same walks or the same exact events that occur. And they might, one might experience heightened things as another, yet it is the opportunity for all of us to recognize the level of similarity that we all have, recognizing what abilities that we have. I've corrected many people in my life. For me, I recognize the disability, but I recognize the person first and not the disability first, right? Because we are ultimately always people. Whether it be our abilities, our skin color, our sexual orientation, whatever it may be, how do we start with what we have more alike than what we have difference?
Yes, definitely. Oh, that was so good. Good. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, Alana, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. We are grateful for it. I strongly encourage all of our listeners to subscribe and follow the Say Hello Threads journey and yours as well. So thank you.
You are so welcome. And again, thank you so much for holding space for us here. It's definitely an important topic to cover. And so I'm glad that you asked me to join.